A tragic hero, a character flaw, struggle of good versus evil within the protagonist, external conflict driving the plot, mention of a ghost. Bradley Cooper's Maestro is a straight-up Shakespearean tragedy. Hey all, my name is Sucharita. Welcome back to my channel, where we are talking about movies and occasionally with people making them. Today, let's take a look at Maestro, directed and co-written by Bradley Cooper, who also stars in it as the titular maestro, the American composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein. In the second or third major scene in Maestro, a 25-year-old Lenny is woken up from his sleep by an urgent phone call. He is informed that he will have to take the stage at Carnegie Hall as a last-minute replacement to conduct the New York Philharmonic. The black and white frame here doesn't let on where the protagonist is asleep. A shard of light coming from a corner of the frame makes it look like he's probably sleeping on a chair in a large theater. Except as he jumps up to pull back the curtain and lets more light in, you realize he's in the loft bedroom of an apartment, laying next to a naked man. He plays a drum beat on his partner's barely covered butt, who we later find out is his on and off love interest, the musician David Oppenheim, and he runs out into a seemingly endless corridor. Uncut, the running brings him to an actual empty theater. He stands with his arms open in the balcony of an empty Carnegie Hall, aware in his heart his life has just changed. This is the first sequence. Now, this very sequence sets the tone of the film. A wildly talented man who dreamt big dreams, kept personal secrets, loved himself to a fault, perhaps will spend his whole life running towards newer and newer goals, inadvertently leaving behind those who couldn't keep pace, ending up the king of an empty castle. Bradley Cooper, who has co-written the screenplay with Josh Singer, then presents a boisterous portrait of a man who lived life king-size, seemingly the only way he knew how, and yet treads carefully in an attempt to not turn his telling of the story of the legend of Leonard Bernstein into empty idol worship.
I know exactly who you are.
For a lot of folks, especially us Indian audience, this film is likely the first time we'd be introduced to the extended work of Leonard Bernstein, if not the very first time you hear the name. As such, the film could have easily been about this man's various achievements in music, his philanthropic work, his stance on civic issues, in short, all things that made him great in American history. Instead, Bradley Cooper's portrayal of Maestro is that of a man far too fast and reckless, a self-fashioned modern-day emperor of sorts, who craved wins and victories but was equipped to only feel the satisfaction of success momentarily before digging himself further into a hole of his own making. Attributing his success to equal parts luck, talent, and determination, Leonard Bernstein questions his own relevance in various parts of the film, most strikingly when in conversation with journalist John Gren. He is telling the man sitting in front of him, as much as he's telling himself, about man falling into self-designed traps. He's also seen smoking throughout the film. I doubt there's a single scene without a cigarette in Bradley Cooper's hand. A physical, visible timer leading him to an early death brought on by excessive smoking. However, the film doesn't take you up to that point. The death you do get to witness is that of Felicia Montalegre Bernstein, Leonard's wife, played spectacularly by Carey Mulligan, the Josephine to his Napoleon. In a scene, Felicia even reminds him he doesn't quite know how important she is to him. Bernstein's bisexuality was never a secret from Felicia, as it wasn't something he was ashamed of or he hid from his close circle. It's his disregard of her position of power as an equal partner in a marriage that leads to unsurmountable friction in their relationship, not so much his philandering ways.
So how long do we have to do this for?
In a most incredible scene, Bernstein comes home after a while to his New York apartment on Thanksgiving Day. Felicia and him proceed to have a fiery, verbose, harsh argument in their palatial bedroom, the anger stemming from his lack of time and attention for his family. While you're listening to the two of them, the camera doesn't go close. The viewer stays at a distance, taking in the conversation and the opulence of the bedroom it's happening in. The levels of pity we're supposed to feel for these people are tightly controlled by the distance between the camera and them. And almost as if the disdain we're supposed to feel or not feel for Bernstein in that moment isn't underlined enough, you see a giant floating Snoopy go past the window along with the New York City Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, puncturing that very tense moment, making you feel the same thoughts Bernstein himself was struggling with. You can chase all the money in the world, but what is your significance in the larger scheme of things? Why should anyone care about anything going on in your life? Look, parade.
If summer doesn't sing in you, then nothing sings in you. And if nothing sings in you, then you can't make music.
Maestro is not a pain to its protagonist. It's a hard, strong, unwavering exploration of the bad that lies within the good and vice versa. Episodes in the screenplay come at you so thick and fast, you don't even realize when the black and white gives way to color. In a tiny wink, some black and white sequences replicate cinematography styles from the cinema of the 40s. Bernstein's own music underlays the whole movie, again emphasizing on his own choices, leading him to the corners he backed himself into. You do get glimpses of his artistic genius throughout the film. A beyond excellent Bradley Cooper, in a scene written and executed to win him all the awards, conducts to perfection Mahler's Second Symphony, in a performance Bernstein himself probably could not have flawed, as Carey Mulligan looks on with conflicted tears of joy, pride, and sadness in her eyes. The moment he finishes, even before the audience has had a chance to fully applaud him, he runs over to his wife, kisses her face with the fierceness of a trophy one would kiss after a huge win. He holds her, his sweat staining her exquisite blue dress, shaking her tiny frame, and leaving her standing as he runs off to receive the audience's love. In this moment, Felicia feels love for this impossible man she's married to, but the chasm between them seems to have widened just a little bit more. In the last shot of the movie, we revert to black and white. As the title Maestro appears on the screen, you see only Felicia in a close-up. You don't know who or what she's looking at, but as the credits begin to roll, she turns around and walks away, silently telling whoever she was looking at they're on their own. The writing in this film pointedly does not talk about its protagonist's civic and political interests or pursuits. Much has been written about Bernstein's involvement with the politics of his time, all of which Bradley Cooper chooses to stay far away from. Even the mentions of his fluid sexuality are not underlined with the pain of injustice or need for reform. His efforts, when he's not acting, are focused on collecting a host of skilled technicians and storytellers in an effort to save Bernstein's personal story for posterity in a way only big-budget Hollywood can. Oscar-winning makeup artist Kazuhiro fantastically transforms Bradley Cooper into this character, changing his appearance over and over. Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg come together to produce the film along with many others. The support cast includes Matt Bomer, Maya Hawke. Hundreds of trained musicians perform the various pieces. Cinematographer Matthew Libatique and editor Michelle Tesoro give the movie its breathless pace, a rhythm that keeps things upbeat, not letting fatigue set in the 129 minutes of its runtime. The film spans from 1943 to the late 80s, with Bernstein in a great rush in both his opening and closing sequences. In the 80s, he's seen brashly, rudely driving into a compound, parking his convertible bright red car with the number plate emblazoned with Maestro 1 on the grass, ruining a perfectly manicured garden, and then he runs inside the building. This giant of a film, unfortunately, probably won't be available to watch on a big screen in India unless you catch a special screening or something, but do watch it on Netflix starting 20th of December. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, Maestro is 100,000 subscribers. Thank you once again. अगर आप नए आए इस चैनल पर तो इस वीडियो के नीचे click that subscribe button. My name is Sucharita. Thank you for stopping by.